As Talal, I know Bitcoin's going up over the years. Like, that's a conviction that I have, and I maybe am too biased.
Yeah.
I live with that decision, and that's why I spread my investment over time. Like, yeah, but Bitcoin's already at 66,000. That's such a wrong way to think of it.
When you think about crypto, it's not something that you own. You can't see it, and you can't touch it, and you don't know what it is.
I'll counter that with a different way. If
Okay.
you have a Twitter account that has 10 million followers, can you touch it?
With Twitter, you're not investing
Sure,
money.
sure.
So it's like less risky in terms of what you're losing.
Not everything has to be physical for it to be valuable. I would argue that digital things are more valuable than physical things to begin with.
What is like the top 5 things people should know about crypto before putting their first like $10 in it?
My advice is get off zero.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Pulp Podcast. Today we are joined by Mr. Talal Tabbar from CoinMENA because we're about to discuss something that's going to affect the future of how we will be using money, looking at money, saving money, and what money means. So I'm so excited to have you here, Talal. How are you?
Wallah, all good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Look, we're going to start this podcast with a couple of headlines that I've seen recently. And I want you to like clarify some things. Tell me, what's real, what's not. Okay? So what I've seen in the past, since March, I would say, is that Bitcoin fell more than 4.7% down to $66,134, bringing a 2-day loss to 7%. And at one point, it fell as low as $64,500. Can you clarify what is going on here? Like, we just need to know.
All right. So what's going on is the media outlets want to have people read their articles.
Okay.
So something around high time preference and low time preference. High time preference is when you want to know what's happening now. Your preference is to know what's happening now or in the immediate future, which is like you can only see up until here.
Yeah.
And that's what the media are doing with Bitcoin is down to 64%.
Okay.
So like the positioning of it that it's fell down to 64%, anyone that's bought Bitcoin, most of the people that bought Bitcoin bought it below 64,000.
Yeah.
Like it's worth remembering that in January 2023, which is 16 months ago, Bitcoin used to trade at $16,000. So if you do the math between 16,000 and 64,000, it's definitely not down 7%. It is up by multiples of that. I think the media, generally speaking, in the Middle East and abroad, have high time preference. They only care about what's happening in the present. And they don't really have a long-term view, which is what a low-time preference would be. So Warren Buffett used to say the stock market is a tool to move money from the impatient to the patient.
Okay. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Okay. Warren Buffett is a great investor from the previous decade. His views on crypto aren't, he's not a fan of crypto. But obviously, there's a lot of things that we can learn from him from an investing standpoint.
Right.
And one of the things that he used to say is the stock market are a tool or a method to move money or wealth from the impatient to the patient. Okay. So if you're impatient and you're caring about 7% up, 3% down, whatever.
So if you're looking at crypto as a trading tool, don't. Look at it as a longer term investment.
Unless you are a specialized trader. Like I'm not going to ask you now to do a heart surgery because you're not a surgeon. Similarly, professional traders use advanced tools to trade. So if you're going on your phone and you're saying buy, sell, you're going to lose because you're competing with advanced algorithms that do high frequency trading for a living.
Right.
Having said that, so the way that I see it, first of all, nothing I say is investment advice.
Okay.
Our compliance team made sure that on any podcast or whatever, I make sure that this is not investment advice. I'm just sharing my opinion, and each person needs to do their research and whatever, and invest according to their risk and their position.
And I'll go into that a little bit more later because I do want you to like kind of just impart some of your insights on what people should be doing.
Sure,
in terms of
I'll tell you what I'm doing.
What you're doing. Tell us what you're doing. Yeah, exactly.
So I believe that the way to generate wealth is to buy things that are scarce now and will be in demand in the future.
Yes.
For example, if you bought a plot of land in Jumeirah in the 1970s, I don't care what your job was. If you worked as a driver, as a restaurant owner, I don't care what you did. You would have made more money from the land you own in Jumeirah than anything else. Why? Because there's only, actually, I was going to say there's only one Jumeirah, but in reality,
there's a couple.
there's 3, 5, but there's a limited number of Jumeirahs, which is beachfront.
Yeah.
Even beachfront in Dubai, they've done the palm and whatnot. But generally speaking, it is something that's scarce.
Right.
And there's a lot of demand going that way. So with the same frame of thought, I believe that most people are moving online. And we don't have money that is scarce and was built for the internet before Bitcoin. So we'll go into that in a bit. But the point that I'm trying to make is for our generation, Bitcoin is going to be the equivalent of that Jumeirah plot of land, or if you bought a plot of land in middle of Riyadh or bought a plant in Amman. Most wealthy people I know, unless they've done like a very successful exit or whatever, their parents or their families bought land back in the day, and you can't print more land. And the government prints a lot of money. So what happens if you have a fixed supply of something and something that has a supply that keeps going up like the US dollar? This is going to become more valuable because you have more dollars to purchase the same plot of land that's there. So with Bitcoin, you can only have 21 million Bitcoin ever. There's a fixed supply of Bitcoin. Money doesn't have a fixed supply, as we've seen. Jerome Powell or whoever is in charge of the US Treasury can decide to say, hey, I want to give 12 trillion to these countries, Ukraine and others.
So there's only 21 million Bitcoins, basically.
Yes.
But then people, you can, aren't there like, what is it called? Coin miners, people who mine.
Sure.
Look for things.
Yeah, exactly. What you're referring to is Bitcoin mining. And that's how you create new Bitcoin.
Right.
So I'll give you like the history of it in a way that hopefully is easy to understand. So in 2009, Bitcoin was released. What does that mean? Is the Bitcoin blockchain was created and the first Bitcoin ever was launched on the internet. People say that, when people say mining, what does that actually mean?
I don't know.
So we will try to break that down. Mining is a process that is done by a machine to verify a Bitcoin transaction. And if you verify it successfully, you get paid. Let me give you a real world example to try and draw a comparison.
Yes.
If I'm sending you money from Talal to Yasmin's bank account, what does the bank need to do? The bank needs to make sure that I have the 100 dirhams that are in my account, and they deduct 100 dirham from my account and they give you 100 dirhams. Today, that's the job of the bank. And we pay the bank a small fee in order for them to do that. But we're going through a centralized, one bank is doing this. With Bitcoin, if I want to send you Bitcoin, I have X Bitcoin in my account and I want to send you one. I send a request to the Bitcoin blockchain, which includes all these different miners. The miner that verifies the transaction gets the commission. So the miner's job is to record Talal -1, Yasmin +1.
Okay, so it's basically like a safety code, kind of like someone who is validating the transference.
100%. And then let's say this miner validated the transaction, and literally what validation is they record that money moved from me to you. The rest of the miners have to agree that the transaction was verified correct.
Why do you think people are catching on to the fact that crypto is like the future of money?
This is an interesting way to think of it. Me and you, we work, 9 to 5 or whatever, to get a salary in US dollars or a currency that's pegged to the US dollar. So what am I exchanging? I'm exchanging my time for money. But then that same money is being printed by the US government, making my time less valuable.
Right. Okay. Got it.
That doesn't happen with gold. Because if I'm working and I'm getting gold in exchange, someone needs to go under the ground, dig for gold, extract it, etc. So there is a process, a costly process to get gold. Whereas the US dollars, all the US government needs to do is agree, sign a paper, and
start printing.
Out of thin air, new money has been created.
Right. And then making things, I guess, making it less valuable so that because there's more of it. And that way, am I right?
The currency itself becomes less valuable.
Yeah, the currency itself becomes more.
The purchasing power of dollars over time goes down. which is why people say, or like traditional investors say, you should invest your money in yield generating assets.
Right.
If you're buying X, could be an apartment, could be a bond, and you're making 8%, and inflation is 3%, that means your actual rate of return is 5%, because you have to take inflation into consideration, when making an investment decision.
Okay, so now let's go into, I want people to basically understand, especially people who are a little bit like risk averse. They don't want to, give their money into some kind of bot, then, something that doesn't actually, like, it's not a commodity. When you think about crypto, it's not something that you own. You do own it, but it's digital and it's kind of, I don't know, evasive. Like you can't see it and you can't touch it and you don't know what it is.
طيب, I'll counter that with a different way. If you have a Twitter account that has 10 million followers, can you touch it?
No, you can't, but you know that there are 10 million followers who are basically interacting with you and engaging with you.
100%. So it's a digital way of making money.
Yeah.
But none of the things that you mentioned earlier apply. You can't touch it. You can't put it in your pocket. You can't see it.
Yeah, I guess.
It lives purely in digital format.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But in terms of crypto, I feel like because you're investing so much more in it, you're investing money, right? So money is yours, and that is something that's super valuable. With Twitter, you're not investing money.
Sure.
So it's like less risky in terms of what you're losing.
Fair enough. I just wanted to make a point that not everything has to be physical for it to be valuable.
Okay.
I would argue that digital things are more valuable than physical things to begin with.
Okay.
So I would rather own Bitcoin than own gold.
Really?
Yeah.
Even these days? Like,
especially these days. It's 2024. Like, you don't make money by buying the things that were popular back in the day. You make money by figuring out what's going to be popular in the coming 30 years and buying that.
Okay, so if somebody was to come to you now who is super like a traditionalist in terms of the money, they're gonna come to you and they're gonna say, "Hey, listen, I want to invest some money in Bitcoin." What is like the top 5 things people should know about Bitcoin or about crypto before trying to invest in it, before putting their first like $10 in it?
Okay, so I think that the best way to approach this is you will never learn if you just read.
Yeah.
You have to do it yourself.
Okay.
So my advice is get off zero. If a friend refers you to CoinMENA, both of you get $10 free in your account. So but this is not something that's only on our exchange.
Okay.
Most crypto exchanges offer you some sort of bonus to come in and get started. It's like a customer acquisition cost marketing type of thing.
Yeah.
You will only realize how good crypto is after you use it.
Okay.
It's similar like sending a mail versus WhatsApp. Like if I want to send a message to New York, I can send it via mail. It works, but it's slow.
Might get lost.
But back in the day, in the 90s, I probably wasn't working at the time, or definitely wasn't working at the time. But I'm sure some traditional person was like, "Oh, why send an email? No, let's send it via registered mail because it's safer. We know it, etc." So generally speaking, people are afraid of change, but with Bitcoin, one thing I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
There has to be a separation between Bitcoin and crypto.
Yeah, for sure. So when I'm talking about, let's talk about crypto in general, because Bitcoin obviously is just a coin. It's a currency. So we don't have to talk just about that. What I'm talking about in general, for anybody who wants to invest in crypto.
But you mentioned, sorry, and you asked me a question on like, what are the things that you need to pay attention to? And that's a very important question.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would look at is you should interact with a regulated entity.
Okay.
Today, in the UAE, there's something called VARA, which is the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority.
Okay.
Like literally, its only job is to regulate crypto assets and to regulate the providers of those crypto assets.
And what do you do? Like, how do you interact with them? Is it an app? Do you download something?
So the Central Bank of the UAE regulates all the banks.
Okay.
So if you go to Emirates MBD or FAB, they have a license from the Central Bank that allows them to give you that service.
Okay.
So if you go to vara.ae, which is their website, you can go to the public registrar and see all of the companies that are compliant and registered there.
Okay.
So I would start off with only working with one of the regulated companies.
Okay, so you found a regulator company?
Yes, CoinMENA, مثلا, just to give an example.
Okay.
You download the app, you conduct your KYC, so you submit your passport, your proof of address, bank statement, etc., similar to opening a bank account. And then you're able to deposit money via a wire transfer or your card.
Okay.
And then you're able to buy the crypto, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, whatever.
And you keep this money so basically the app is acting as a wallet for you.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
And then you can do a few things. You can sell that crypto to dirhams again and withdraw it to your bank. So if you use a regulated exchange under VARA, one of the biggest concerns of investors is how can I get my money back?
Yeah.
That part is completely solved because as a licensed entity, you're allowed to send people back money, dirhams to their bank account.
Okay.
So our users, if
you
they
can
want,
cash out.
they can cash out. Last month I think we did maybe over 600 million dirhams of withdrawals, about $200 million.
Okay.
And that fully goes smoothly because you're working with a licensed entity. The second thing I would do is never take debt. I guess should never say never, but don't take debt.
What do you mean? Like
don't borrow to invest.
Like don't use from your credit card to
Don't
invest.
use your credit card. Don't borrow money from friends or family to try and act smart. Crypto is a high risk industry.
Okay.
Anyone that tells you otherwise, like I've been working in crypto for maybe 8 years. I own nothing else. Like I don't have other investments. But that's a risk that I've told my wife about before we got married. And I'm convinced that this asset is going to do well in the long term. So all my investments are going to be in crypto.
That's good.
I won't go hungry, inshallah, because I can go back to working if needed. That was pre-CoinMENA. For now, going to be working on CoinMENA for the foreseeable future. So don't borrow.
Okay, don't borrow to invest.
Don't borrow to invest because if you lose your money, how are you going to pay it back? Invest what you save.
So that's a question actually a lot of people have. Like, what percentage of your savings or of your income should you invest in?
So I know when I first moved to the UAE in 2013, I did this thing with a friend where we'd used to take out a third of our salary as soon as it's paid and move it to an external account.
Okay.
So like a stock account. We used to buy stocks. And then I would live with what's remaining. I was single, very low maintenance. It was feasible at the time.
Right.
But I guess the advice is figure out that percentage and move it before, like the people that
before you start spending.
People that save what remains, it's not a good way to do it.
No. You're not going to have anything left.
You should remove your savings first and then spend the remainder of it.
Okay, cool. So basically, we've done that. So now we put the amount on the side. It's a third. And what can you advise people like where to go next? Because there are so many different coins. There are so many different things and you don't know where to start. And some coins have bad reputation. Some have good, you don't know.
Look, I'm a fan of Bitcoin by far because I think it has the best risk return.
So you've taken a third of the amount and now you've invested it. How much should you be investing every month, or should it be a lump sum in terms of your, like, say I've had savings from before. Should I put that in there, or should I do like a kind of weekly investment or monthly investment?
There's something called dollar cost averaging, which is what you've just described, the second part. So for me, since maybe 7 or 8 years, I've been buying Bitcoin every Thursday.
Okay.
Every Thursday, because the weekend used to start on Thursdays and I wanted to start the weekend on a good note.
Okay.
Buy a bit of Bitcoin. No, not a big amount, but a small amount. Every Thursday.
Okay.
And I still do it until today. And I will continue to do it because that's how I see myself saving.
Okay.
I personally like this strategy because Bitcoin is volatile in the short term. It can go to 66 and then go back to 18. And I don't want to
only... As we've seen in the past month, right.
I don't want to only buy at 66, but I also... It's hard to time the market. So as Talal, I know Bitcoin's going up over the years. Like that's a conviction that I have, and I maybe am too biased. But khalas, I live with that decision, and that's why I spread my investment over time.
Okay.
So that I dampen the volatility.
What do you mean by dampen the volatility?
Okay, so Bitcoin is quite volatile. Let's do an example. I have $30,000. Okay, and I want to buy Bitcoin today. I'll get probably half a Bitcoin, just less than half a Bitcoin. Why? Because 30,000 Bitcoin is trading at 66. I'll get half a Bitcoin. Let's say I bought 10,000 today, and then 10,000 after a week, and 10,000 the week after.
Right.
I will be able to capture Bitcoin in 3 different price points.
Right.
So let's say it goes down to 20. Bitcoin goes down from 66 to 50. I'm not too pissed off because I'm able to buy it again at 50. If it goes to 70 or 80, that's also fine because I've already bought a bit at 60. So you remove some of the volatility risk by spreading your investments over time.
Okay, so you're basically buying a different amount of Bitcoin every single time. So that makes you Yeah, like it basically gets you more. More
it
Bitcoin.
reduces your risk. It reduces your
risk. Okay.
It reduces your risk.
Okay, cool. So I've already asked you about this. How much money should I invest in apps? Okay.
But sorry. On how much money to invest. There is no right answer. No one can give you a right answer. But I will use some facts to tell you what the world has allocated.
Okay.
So global wealth is about 430 trillion. That's all of the money in the world. All of the assets in the world. Crypto is about 2 trillion.
Okay.
Which means that crypto makes up 0.5% of total global wealth.
Right.
So if you have less than 0.5% of your wealth in crypto, that means you have less than the global average.
Okay.
Which in my opinion is a very concerning thing if you're below the age of 40. Because if you're above 40, actually not even above, yeah.
Why does it matter the age though?
Age shouldn't matter actually.
Okay.
Age shouldn't matter, but because people are living longer, etc.
Okay.
I was saying if you're younger, then you have even more of a reason to invest more in crypto because your risk tolerance drops down over time. Yeah? And I became a dad maybe a month and a half ago. I'll tell you, I take less risk naturally. Like,
really, in terms of finances, also
in general.
Okay.
In general. And even if I convince myself in no, I will. Inherently, you are going to take less risk as you grow older. So, and crypto is seen as a high risk, high return thing. So,
Right.
I think that if you have less than 0.5% of your total wealth in crypto, you are heavily underweight. And yeah, that's not something I would want to do.
Okay.
Also, you shouldn't go all in.
No.
But I think that having 5% of your net worth in Bitcoin or crypto is an advisable idea. And don't go for like the meme coins or like the ones that you want to make 100x on. You're better off going and losing your money in a casino. لأنه those are closer to gambling.
Right.
لأنه
Okay.
you don't know what you're buying.
And when you download these apps, will it tell you, for example, I'm downloading CoinMENA, like, is it gonna tell me what are the coins that are being used the most, what people are basically trading with, and all this?
هلا you can figure out that information. هلا as CoinMENA, we don't give investment advice.
Okay.
So we're not allowed to give investment advice.
Okay.
And I honestly didn't want to do it to allow people to make their own decisions. هلا we have CoinMENA University, which has a lot of information on investing in general, but we will not tell you, hey, buy 5 tokens from whatever, Yasmin token.
Yeah.
Because that comes with its own set of
Of course, you're responsible for that.
yeah,
then,
responsibilities. So we are considering doing such a product, where you have like a CoinMENA index where you just buy like the S&P, for example. You know, in the US stocks, you can go buy Apple, Tesla, whatever, or you can buy the S&P, which is 500 of the biggest companies.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's something a lot of people do these days, and they feel like it's a bit safer, maybe a little bit less risky.
It reduces the risk. But again, in my opinion, Bitcoin remains the best way to preserve your wealth in the coming 10 years. Like, I don't see a better risk return than Bitcoin.
You know, a lot of people, they believe like they are going to keep their money in crypto, for example, or in something. When should they cash out? If they've seen Bitcoin crash and burn in the next year, like, and there are signs that it could happen, when should they, like, is there any kind of, you know, predetermined way that they can kind of, I don't know, like, see that happening? I don't know. Is there a way that they can actually figure it out before it happens? Or is there no
I don't
signs?
see myself ever selling my Bitcoin, if I'm completely honest.
Okay.
I think that, but this is maybe this is my own personal opinion. But I do think that in our lifetime, the US dollar will lose its control over the world as the global reserve currency because the dollar was built before the internet. Show me one thing in the world that hasn't changed head over heels because of the internet, except for money, because governments control it.
But now it's changing.
Yeah. So now you can opt out. You can decide to use another system. You don't need to use the old system that has created so much wealth inequality, that has benefited politicians and the people around them like Nancy Pelosi more than the rest. So Bitcoin
100%.
is a new system that allows you to opt out from the corrupt old system.
Okay.
Maybe that's a little bit aggressive, but I do think that, so if you look at the history of currencies usually change every 100 to 150 years. After the issuer of that currency starts abusing it for their own benefit, similar to what the US is doing now.
Okay, yeah.
Do I think of, I'll probably borrow against my Bitcoin in the future if I need to, but I don't see myself selling them. Like if you own a lot of land today, you don't need to sell the land. You can borrow against the land. So that's how I see Bitcoin. I see Bitcoin as the equivalent of buying a land in Jumeirah in the 70s.
But you know how, for example, when you buy a land and you live in it, for example, you stop living in it, you can rent it out, right?
Sure.
And you can kind of yield money from that. Do you think there'll be a way that you can
lend
crypto?
You can lend your Bitcoin today, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And what do people do with it though? Like it's like, okay, for example, renting, I understand people go live in the house.
Sure.
What would people do?
It is similar to gold. You can lend gold today. So real estate is a different ballgame. I'm by the way a fan of real estate as well. So as Talal, I'm not a fan of soft assets. Hard assets is what I like. Any asset that requires work to be done in order to generate it, I'm a fan of. Any asset that Jerome Powell and a bunch of unelected American officials can just sign, hey, 2 trillion, I'm not a fan of. I guess real estate is
something that's solid.
It's there, it's solid, and you can't create more of it out of thin air. Someone needs to do work.
Someone has to construct it.
Exactly.
Okay. What are the top 3 common mistakes when it comes to buying crypto or looking at the digital finance space? You know, it doesn't have to be crypto. It can be NFTs, can be anything like that. That may lead you to being scammed.
Greed.
Really?
Greed, of
course. You said that very fast, so that means like that's really affecting
it's the thing that affects people the most because you don't make good decisions when you're greedy. You are...
Or desperate.
Or desperate, صح. But I see that a lot with like the new unproven tokens and like, hey, buy Bitcoin, it's a good way to preserve your wealth. It's like, but Bitcoin is already at 66,000. That's such a wrong way to think of it. People, for example, used to buy tokens that are 10 cents because they think it can get to $1. But again, that's the wrong way to think of it.
What's the right way to think of it?
حلو. If a token is, like, I'll give you an example. Let's say we create Yasmin coin, okay? And we created 100 units of this Yasmin coin. And it's currently trading at 0.1.
Okay.
We create Talal coin. It's also trading at 0.1, but instead of 100 tokens, there are 100,000 tokens.
Okay.
It's much harder for my token to go to $1 than it is for yours because your supply is less.
Right.
But that's something, like, to simplify it, that's something called unit bias. When something is priced cheaply, people want to buy it because think it can go up. An interesting real-world example is, we didn't mention this, but BlackRock, which is one of the biggest investment companies in the world, launched a Bitcoin ETF. What's an ETF? It's called an exchange-traded fund. So if you have a stock brokerage account on Robinhood or any of the same way you can buy Apple, you can now buy Bitcoin.
Okay.
And that you do that through something called an ETF. So it's like a stock that's on the stock market where you can buy it. BlackRock, their Bitcoin ETF isn't 66,000. They created a random price called $25. Why? Because if it's 66,000, it's very hard to convince investors that it will go to 250,000. Of 66 to 250, it's so much. But to convince them it will go from 25 to 125, it's easier for them to...
Oh, it's easier for them to kind of like
visualize,
grasp.
even though it's the same percentage.
Yeah, okay, but optically, like it just
so like
feels...
what's easier to go? Bitcoin from 66,000 to 240,000 or to go from $25 to $100? It's the same percentage.
Yeah, okay.
It's 4x. That's something that affects people, is looking at unit bias. Trying to find the cheap tokens.
The cheap token.
Even though they're expensive, they're not cheap.
Okay.
They just look cheap.
So that's a common mistake, right? Okay, so first one we said was greed. Desperation.
Yeah.
Second one we would say...
Unit bias. Trying to buy the cheaper tokens. And then I'll go back to the using unregulated exchanges.
Okay.
Because many people that lost their money, like in Turkey, there was an exchange that was very cheap, but they scammed people out of $3 billion. It wasn't a regulated exchange. So using regulated exchanges, I think, is something that's absolutely important.
Okay.
We talked about don't borrow. Yeah, I think that still also applies.
Use a third. Those like best practices, like use a third of your salary, income, whatever it is, and put that into a weekly.
This is savings. The third,
savings.
Yeah. So okay. Let me just also that savings doesn't all go into crypto. Unless you're in my position where you are. Yeah. So I'm not telling you put a third of your money into crypto.
Okay.
What I said as because I'm trying to be as like neutral and not try to be as objective as possible. So what I think is okay for a normal person is to have 5% of their total wealth in crypto.
5%.
Yeah, 5%.
Okay. Got it.
So if you have $100,000, having $5,000 of Bitcoin is recommended.
So out of the third, put 5% in. Out of the third that you're putting aside for investment.
You have to do the calculation because
Okay.
that depends on how much money you have and how much you're saving.
Okay, fine. Okay. All right. Let's talk about money in general. What, you want to say something else?
No, it's about money because like if you lived in a country where, like, you know how much the Egyptian pound dropped this year?
I don't know, but it's a lot.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
not kid numbers, like 40-50%.
I mean that, and
Like
yeah,
half. If
living
you
in
had,
Syria.
let's say you could buy one sandwich, now you can buy half a sandwich.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
I mean, what do you recommend?
Lebanon, 100x. If you had cash in a bank in Lebanon, like we say, the US dollar is dropping in value over time. What do you think are going to happen to the other currencies?
Then do you think basically, for example, in those countries, like how hard would it be to find a regulated government like body that would be able to, where they can everyone can start getting into crypto?
They won't allow it because it's a form of capital flight. So in Lebanon, there's no regulated crypto businesses. In Egypt, there's no regulated crypto businesses.
Because they don't want it to
They
take
don't
away
want
from
people
the
to,
weight of...
yeah, they don't want people to leave their system.
Damn, that sucks.
But
I would have thought
yeah, but
that's what you should do.
if you had Bitcoin and you were Lebanese, you would move it to Dubai the next day or
100%.
continue life as is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And make a living out of it, right?
and you know how hard it is to transfer gold versus Bitcoin? Bitcoin, you can have it on your phone.
Yeah,
you can,
it's an app. I mean, you can
Yeah.
kind of...
Yeah, it's digital. It's much easier to transport than gold. And it is, yeah. So, okay. One of the things that interests me a lot is, why did people move away from gold if it was working great? And the reality is, over the past 150 years, we've become a lot more globalized.
Okay.
So you need to send money from South America to China or whatever. Gold's not an easy thing to transport.
Yeah.
So in 1907, actually, yeah, before that, the British did it, but the Americans basically said, we will keep the gold and we will create dollars. And for every dollar, we will keep the same amount of gold. So these dollars are backed. They are not created out of thin air.
Yeah.
And then in 1971, when the US government wanted to, like, there was something called the Bretton Woods Agreement, but basically President Nixon of the US said that we will be temporarily removing or stopping the conversion of dollars into gold because they didn't have enough gold.
Okay.
And they wanted to create more dollars. So they said, okay, we will stop that conversion. There's a website that's called What Happened in 1971 that shows you how everything wrong with money started in 1970, or everything wrong with the dollar started in 1971 when they took that decision. Because they went to basically funny money. It's like they decide how much to print of it.
What could have they done at that point? I mean, if they continued with the gold, it would have just been not as
They would have been bankrupt.
convenient. Yeah. So what would have they had to do?
حلو. Cool. So your point is the US
What is the alternative? I guess that's my question.
حلو. I believe that the private sector is better at doing things than the public sector, generally speaking. One of the things that hasn't moved to the private sector is money.
Okay.
And the reason for that is governments use it to their control, their advantage, their political campaigns or whatever. So it wasn't going to be an easy thing to tell governments, hey, give up your money. Why?
Yeah.
Because they use it to control, they use it for so many different things.
Yeah. But don't you think that even if it was in the private sector, one sector or one company would have had monopoly over it?
Exactly why Bitcoin is different from other crypto.
Right.
Because Bitcoin is decentralized. You don't have a CEO. You don't have an address.
So so basically you have more than one entity that holds.
No one controls it.
No one controls
basically.
it.
Similar to gold. There's
Right.
not one entity that controls it.
Okay. Yes. I see now the connection between the gold and the crypto.
For example, Ethereum, you can know you can figure out their address. It's 10 Barer Strasse in Zug, Switzerland. They have a board of directors. They have so it's very different from what Bitcoin is.
Wow, it's so interesting. I'm really actually excited to see what's going to happen in like 10, 20 years in terms of like how many people are going to move to like decentralized
Bitcoin
money.
will exceed gold. And for Bitcoin to exceed gold, Bitcoin would need to trade at over $600,000 per coin, which is why I'm still buying Bitcoin every week.
Okay.
I believe that digital things are replacing physical ones. And not only replacing them, but they're replacing them and doing way better. So
yeah, but I mean, you're talking in terms of investment, right? But is there going to be? Do you think there'll be like crypto ATM machines where you can? I mean, there are. When I was in Australia, I could see them, but are they practical? Like, can you go to the machine and just I need to go grocery shopping now. Let me take out my Bitcoin.
Yeah, so that is like putting a nice saddle on a horse when someone else is trying to invent cars. Like,
Okay.
why would I go back to ATMs? Like, why would I cash out? To cash out to
So
what?
then
I'll just pay the supermarket with the digital currency.
Okay, yeah.
I don't
That's
need
what
to
I
cash
mean.
out.
No cashing out. Okay, fine. We're talking just using it as like a card.
Sure. But
Yeah.
a card is controlled by Visa and MasterCard, and they tell you whether you're allowed to spend your money. Like,
Yeah,
today,
that's true.
every time you tap, your overlords decide if you are able to spend your money.
Yeah, they allow it or they don't allow it,
Yeah.
or they put a percentage on it and say you can.
No, they take the percentage every time.
Oh.
But what I'm saying is whether you're allowed to spend it to begin with.
You mean allowed because you don't have it? Or
No,
because
even if you have the money. Visa and MasterCard at every transaction say yes, no.
Oh, okay.
You can get your card blocked.
That's true.
It is.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Visa and MasterCard thing will eventually change.
Yeah.
Because they're doing something that no longer really is required.
But okay, can we just talk about like safety of it just a little bit? Because first, like the reason
Safety of crypto?
the safety of, for example, I mean, let me just kind of play devil's advocate a little bit. The reason why you would have a yes or no on whether you can use your card is because what if you are making an illegal transaction, right? But then with crypto, no one's gonna know what you're doing. No one's gonna know what you are transferring, what you're buying.
I would like heavily dispute that.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
Is there like a body that oversees what kind of a transaction you're having?
Of course.
And is that for example, what CoinMENA would do in that case?
Sure. So every transfer in or out of CoinMENA goes through a KYT check. So we're doing what Visa and MasterCard does, or whether you're allowed to spend your money or not. Is it going to a high risk address? We wouldn't be able to send it. If it's going to a low
got it. So now I understand.
Yeah, but I guess the difference is if you had cash in your pocket, you can use it no matter how you want to, صح? Similarly, if you have crypto, because we have to differentiate between custodial and non-custodial. Custodial is someone like CoinMENA, which is holding custody of your crypto. We're a regulated entity and we're holding crypto on your behalf. A non-custodial would be like cash or a piggy bank,
right?
Where you have the token on your wallet.
Okay.
Not under anyone else's control.
Yeah. Okay. I can see the appeal. I can see why this feels much more autonomous for people who have the wallet, and that's how.
But like to give you an example, control is like what Visa and MasterCard are doing. Sure, it can protect people, but at the same time, I don't know if you've seen what's happening in China with their central bank digital currency.
I don't know.
Like there's an expiration date. If there's an expiration date on some of the bonuses that are paid, you have to spend this bonus by this amount of.
Yeah. Especially even with points, and you spend them in this amount of time.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about points. I'm talking about
their salaries.
Yeah, bonuses. Like the government control on money is something that will change over time.
Okay.
And the new generation will opt to use digital currencies because they are far cheaper, far more efficient.
Yeah.
And most importantly, that's something that people don't talk too much about, is you can embed code into them. I can't write code on a US dollar bill.
But what's the point of
like, you think AI is going to use dollars, or are they going to use Bitcoin and Ethereum?
No, they're going to use Bitcoin, of course.
Yeah, of course, because they can control it directly. They can send receipt. There's no Christmas, there's no Eid, there's no...
Yeah. But can I just go back to the point of, for example, the decentralized part? Because every government still has to okay a regulating body. So for them to do that...
They don't have to okay.
They don't have to okay. It can still exist without them...
Yeah, of course.
It?
Bitcoin exists. Bitcoin is there in China, and Bitcoin is completely banned in China. But it's still there.
But it's still there and still working.
It's still
people use it.
Exploding, not only there.
Okay.
So countries that adopt it early will benefit the most.
Okay.
Which is why it pains me that Jordan, for example, has refused to regulate crypto.
Why do you think? I mean, do you think it's just like a fear of the unknown kind of thing?
Maybe, yeah. I don't have an answer to that. I wish I did.
But CoinMENA is operating You have people who are
We
operating
have
from
team
there.
members in Jordan, but we
Right.
don't do any sales or like we don't operate in Jordan basically.
Okay.
Like if you're Jordanian, you can't deposit money with us the same way you can do in the UAE.
Okay.
Why? Because we're not regulated there, and
They can't just do it online. They can't do it through like the app.
because you need to send money to our bank account.
Yeah.
And we don't have
can't.
bank accounts in Jordan.
Right.
Because here we have bank accounts in UAE. You can easily send, you can buy the Bitcoin or cash it out the same day.
Okay. So money in general. So I saw this reel online the other day by Cody Sanchez. She's basically this like owns multiple businesses and everything. She was saying that the way you're going to make money in the future now is not through your 9-to-5 job. It's through what you own. What do you think of that statement? And can you tell us a little bit about how you tell us, dissect it for us.
Yeah, so it's a loaded one for sure, and I obviously am of the opinion that equity or ownership is what generates you wealth, and it's not salaries. And I'll probably add a quote to that from my late grandfather. He used to say, "عطاء العبد مش زي عطاء الرب," which means like the literal translation of it is, what a slave gives you is not the same as what God gives you. And in Islam, all of us are slaves to God. He's saying like your mortal boss, he decides your salary.
Right.
If you're an employee and you're getting paid, you're depending on a mortal to decide you're worth $100, you're worth 10,000, your bonus is X, bravo.
Yeah.
You can only go as much as that mortal allows you to go.
Right, exactly.
But if you own your business or if you're doing something with your equity, then God and the world decides, and the sky's the limit then.
100%. But what I would, in that situation, I would just say like, you need the means to get to that point, right?
Yes,
you
yes.
need the salary in order to buy the thing, to buy the assets.
Okay, it's also important to be, of course. For example, in my case, I was very lucky that my parents were able to afford to pay for my university and gave me the education I needed to work and whatever.
Yeah.
And I was able to take risks early on in my career because I had a fallback option or like family to fall back on.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that. So,
Not everyone has that,
I guess people romanticize entrepreneurship وهيك.
Yeah.
But reality is, I was able to do this because of that family
that
support
cushion,
net. And
kind of, especially in the younger years.
Even though I didn't use it, but just knowing that it's there allowed me to take additional risk.
Right.
But going back to Sanchez's point, which is very interesting. If I'm exchanging my time for money, then I'm limited by my time. I only have 24 hours in a day. Whereas if I'm using my money or my equity in order to generate money and wealth, then I have a way bigger attack target, way bigger target addressable market.
Okay, so time's our limit, basically.
Yeah.
Time's the ceiling
بالضبط.
that we can't escape from.
Yeah. And like the world's population generally is growing. So if you're buying assets that are scarce, that are limited in supply,
Yeah.
unless you've made very bad decisions, most likely they're going to go up in value over time because more people, like the world's population is growing.
Yeah.
More demand for a limited set of products.
So, okay, let's like dig deeper into that question, a little bit into that answer, because what should people be looking at in terms of what they should be buying? What is a scarce asset or something that could be growing in terms of value in the next couple of years? How do we know what it is? I mean, you need to really
I've tried to say
research.
Bitcoin a few times on this podcast. يعني بس.
Other than Bitcoin.
It's so
Something
funny.
else.
One of my friends yesterday was sitting with him. He's like, Talat, so what do you think of investing? But let me tell you, assuming we had done the Bitcoin part, what else do we invest in?
Yeah.
And I also don't want to...
Because, okay, wait. So if everyone's investing in Bitcoin, it's not going to become a scarce commodity anymore.
No, it will always be a scarce commodity.
Do you think so?
Yes.
Scarce, not scarce. Okay.
But it's because you can break it up. Like, let's say you have a pizza and I cut up the pizza. Instead of 8 slices, I cut it into 16 slices. It's still the same pizza, but I'm just distributing it across more people. So you know how there's cents to $1?
Yes.
There's 100 cents in every dollar. With Bitcoin, there's 100 million sats in every Bitcoin.
Okay.
So you can break up each Bitcoin to 100 million equivalent of cents, which is called sats.
Yeah. Okay. But maybe if you buy something, you have to pay off the mortgage for the next 30 years of your life. That could also be troublesome, but you haven't, a house to your name now. What do you kind of advise people in this situation?
It's hard to advise anyone really because the older generation money has become so messed up that it's most people our age can't afford to buy a house.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you need to be making lots of money to be able to buy out a house. A good ratio to look at is your income versus how much your house is going to cost. So like my grandfather, his salary was, I think, 100 JDs, which is maybe $140. And he bought a plot of land for 2,500 JDs. So 25 months salary, he was able to buy an amazing plot of land.
Okay.
How many months salary now do you need to buy a proper plot of land to build 3 houses on that?
I don't know, a gazillion years.
Yeah, you need a gazillion years.
Yeah, many years.
With 250,000 dirhams, and like, what are you gonna do?
It's very hard.
Insane how much harder it has become to buy a house. However, I do think that if you can afford to buy your primary residence, it's probably a good idea because you no longer pay rent every year. But also there's hidden costs of ownership, right?
Of course, there's like service fees.
Yeah. It's not like you buy and chill. You have to still pay.
No. There's like what is it called? The interest fees for the bank. If you're not paying it straight up.
Cash.
Okay. I already asked you. I'm going to say, how should people be saving in 2024? But you're going to say Bitcoin. How much can I drill this in your brain?
But wait. Inti, the important thing is you said in 2024.
Yeah, in 2024.
If you told me in 1990, I wouldn't have Bitcoin as the answer.
Yeah,
and I
of
was
course.
just born at the time. But it shocks me that because investors look for the future.
Right.
You don't invest based on what's good now. You want to try and figure out what's going to be popular down the line. And like if you're buying a plot of land for it to go up in value, maybe you'll go closer to Jabal Ali because downtown is already very expensive. Probably now Jabal Ali is also expensive as well. But that's how I think about it.
Okay. Give us some insights on what you think is going to happen in terms of Bitcoin in the next couple of months and what people should be doing. I know you don't want to give any advice in terms of investing. I understand. But say I am a newcomer to the crypto space and I want to kind of put my money into a couple of things. Should I be doing that this month or in the next couple of months? Or should I just hold off until some other time?
No, so I don't think you should hold off.
Okay.
Holding off is one of the worst things, in my opinion, you could do on anything.
Okay.
Whether it is investing or there's a quote that, I forgot who said it. I think Richard Branson, but saying that someone way less qualified than you are is at a much better place because they took action and you didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm always in a position where I'm saying, take the action. You will make a mistake, you edit, you improve, and you adjust, and then you make the right action. If it's wrong again, you continue, you adjust on it.
Yeah.
But if you don't take the action, you don't know if it's right or wrong.
Exactly.
And I'm not telling you invest all your money. We said get off zero. So even if you buy with $10 just to know how it works, that's already a good start. Okay. So initially I said that Bitcoin, there's a specific amount of Bitcoin that's mined every day. On 420, that amount is going to be cut in half. So every 4 years, the new amount of Bitcoin that goes into the market is cut by half. Today, 900 new Bitcoins are released to the market every day.
Okay.
After 420, there will be 450 Bitcoins that are...
What do you mean 420? 4 years?
No, 420 is April 20th.
Oh, April 20. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have clarified that. I guess 420 is utilized in a different
100%. I was like, why is he so...
Yeah, this time it's Bitcoin. But yeah, I guess that number has... I like that number.
Okay.
Anyway, post April 20th, just to be clearer, the amount of Bitcoin going into the market is cut by half. Usually, if we look historically, Bitcoin has a strong price appreciation during those years when supply is cut by half. So,
and the next supply is going to cut by half in April
20th. Yes. So soon,
Soon.
I would.
So invest.
Yeah, I would invest in Bitcoin.
Okay.
This is my own personal opinion and not investment advice.
Okay.
And I would avoid investing in like a lot of new shiny stuff unless you know what you're doing.
Okay. Because there's always this new shiny stuff that people are talking about, especially in the media.
Buy a bit of it if you want, but don't go all into something that's unproven or something that, I guess is riskier. Bitcoin's already risky enough. If you look at Bitcoin through history, it's made over 140% annually. Like every year, average, it makes 140%.
Okay.
I don't know many other investments that have that type of return.
What about like Ethereum and NFTs? Do you think that people should put their money in there, or how does it compare?
If you're buying luxury watches and if you're buying luxury art, then probably NFTs are a good fit for you because they are the digital version of that.
Right.
But if you're in my position where you don't have a watch and you don't buy fine art, then NFTs are not for me.
You're not like basically into that kind of space or that kind of stuff.
If you're thinking of going into NFTs to like sell it for 100 times what you bought it, not a good thing to do. It's probably a bad idea. And the reason why is NFTs aren't very liquid. Meaning if you wanted to sell it, there's no guarantee that someone on the other side is going to buy it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I would imagine.
Ethereum is a different story. Ethereum is the most sophisticated or most advanced smart contract platform. So you can do a lot of things on Ethereum, which is why NFTs came up on Ethereum. DeFi, which is decentralized finance, also came on Ethereum and not on Bitcoin because it's easy to build stuff on it. I'm personally a fan of Ethereum. I do own a decent chunk of Ethereum in terms of my like net worth. But yeah, Ethereum, there's developers, there's people working on it daily. So there is human execution risk. Whereas with Bitcoin, that risk has been significantly mitigated.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, a big fan of Ethereum as well.
Tell me, what's it like being the founder of CoinMENA? What do you guys, tell me the ins and outs of it. In terms of, you don't have to go into too much detail, but now you just told me that Eid's coming up. What are some things that you guys are dealing with?
Before Eid, everyone wants to either make, because CoinMENA is a 24/7 business. And that maybe isn't necessarily the best thing for the team from a work-life balance kind of thing. Best we make it work. Banks, on the other hand, they have all these holidays where you can't deposit or withdraw. So the couple of days before Eid or couple of days before New Year's or Christmas or whatever, we see insane volumes because people want to either deposit to buy crypto or they deposit their crypto to cash it out to their bank. So yeah, we've been having a couple of very busy days, but yeah, generally in CoinMENA, we launched in 2021 when market was a bit crazy. We had just launched, so we were a new company. We weren't able to capture a lot of the market. 2022, we grew quite a bit. We got maybe 200,000 users during that year. 2023 was our breakthrough year, I would say, because everyone else was suffering in the crypto industry, and we were benefiting from the things that we built in 2022. And 2024 has been just insane. Like growth is...
That's amazing.
Yeah, growth is great. I have a great team. I have great partners. We're a fully remote company or like remote first company.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. That was such an interesting part of your company. Like you haven't seen some of the people that you work with.
Yeah, but
this is normal, but like still, it's like you're fully remote.
Yeah, we're a remote first company. We do need to have offices to be regulated. So we do have the compliance part done for our licenses, but our marketing, developers, etc., it's all remote.
Do you find that hard to manage or how do you find that?
I don't want to go to office.
Okay.
And my partner, Dina, doesn't want to go to office.
Yeah.
So we created a company that works without going to office. And there's one way to do it, in my opinion, which is you need to be severely understaffed. Because if someone coasts, we'll figure it out. Like we have one designer at CoinMENA, Asmat. He's an amazing designer, but we have one guy doing design.
Right.
So if he doesn't do his work, how are we going to do the rest of it?
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So we're a tight team, I would say. We're like a lean team's probably a better word.
So the advice is understaff here so that you don't have
people
to
can't coast.
manage so. Yeah, exactly.
Like they have to do their job, otherwise something's going to break. And if they break, they don't have a job. But different positioning for it is we put a very large percentage of our company to begin with to share with the team. Because CoinMENA is a profitable business. Like we don't subscribe to the same logic of like grow and then inshallah you raise venture and then you fund your company and then spend it again and raise. We ask people to send us their hard-earned money.
Right.
So we have a duty to make sure that we have a sustainable business. And that's why we operate CoinMENA as a profitable business.
And it's good that everybody has like stakes in it so that, you feel like everyone's super invested.
Yeah, me. And there will be a time in the future, whether we IPO or we do M&A activity or whatever, where I want my team to also make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of satisfaction of like investors, my job is to make the investors money.
Right.
But I probably have better satisfaction from making the team money
Yeah.
on a personal level, yeah.
Yeah, I guess because you're,
Because you're allowing
you're
people,
close.
because they believed in our idea, right?
Yeah.
And they left whatever they were doing to come work with us on this. So it only feels natural and fair for them to get properly rewarded.
Nice. Amazing.
And because I say you can't get rich from your salary, we give our team members equity so that they can get rich from the equity.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's
You
the
know
way
how
to do
many
it.
millionaires came out of Kareem's exit? Over 100.
They all invested?
No, employees.
Ah, okay.
Kareem gave a lot of shares to their employees.
Oh, really?
So there's over
As
100.
they were exiting?
No, during the...
Okay, that's what I mean.
And then when
they
they
were-
exited, they made the money. So there's over 100 millionaires out of Kareem. Imagine how good it feels for the founders.
That's
I've-
really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That really would get gives me hope in terms of like companies, future companies, if that's the way they think. then
Yeah, I
that's-
mean, also there is, I'm not Gandhi, yani. I'm doing this to make money. Because, people say, no, I'm so nice, I'm giving my team equity. But the reality is you're giving them equity so that you're on the same page. Yani, for example, how's the culture in a company where everyone owns equity versus everyone has a salary? Let's say we have an employee that's not really caring about work. He just does a job. I don't need to figure out who that is because the team is going to weed them out.
Yeah.
Why? Because the team owns equity. They want the company to succeed because the company succeeding means they have their payday.
If every company worked like that, what do you think? That's awesome.
I think it's insane not to have that.
I mean, I think every company, now that you said it like that,
Yeah,
should
because
have
they
that.
weed out the... Okay, and also another selfish reason is I've studied crypto exchange hacks and vulnerabilities. Most of them are just unhappy employees that turn against the company.
Oh, really?
Because they feel they're not being properly rewarded. Yeah, like in Korea, many of the cases, it was like inside jobs.
What do you mean? Like, so they create like scammy coins or what?
They coordinate internally to create deposits or whatever. Like they scam the company.
Okay.
هلا at CoinMENA نحن we have a very strict process on that. So inshallah, and I think
we have your eyes on them.
yeah. Actually, in crypto, I think you need to avoid trusting. Like you need to have core systems in place that don't require you to trust anyone.
Yeah, okay. That don't require
And
just
it's a very
blind...
robust system on how many goes in, how many goes out.
That's
Yeah,
fair. So it just is the numbers add up basically, and خلاص base it on that.
Yeah, بالضبط. So you need to
a great way
automate
to
a
do
lot
it.
of that and remove the human element. So we spent a lot of time automating stuff so that we don't have to rely on people's decision making.
Don't trust.
Don't trust, verify. Yeah. If someone tells me, is
Verify.
CoinMENA regulated?
That's
I'm
a lot
like,
like
don't
that.
trust, verify. Go to the website of the regulator. Don't take my word. Go to the website of the regulator and see my license number, see its expiration date, see who the CEO is, who the CFO is, who's like, why ask me?
Yeah.
Just go, don't trust, verify.
That's great. I like that. And I like the concept of the employees having shares just because like someone's investment, like your investment, someone else's investment is there. Like it's all kind of like a full circle
Yeah.
situation.
And the other thing that people don't talk too much about is retention. Like, if you have a fast growing company, other companies are going to want to steal your employees.
Oh, yeah. That's a
And
good
what's
point.
the best way to keep a great employee is have them own part of the company. Because if they
that's
leave
good
before the 4 years are done, they don't get their full shares.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So 4 years.
4 years and you get, it depends how aggressive you want to be. At CoinMENA, you get half your shares at 2 years and then the rest over the final two.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit fairer in my opinion. Because if you gave us 2 good years, أهلا وسهلا, you should be able to get your
And would you
upside.
ever think of selling CoinMENA?
I mean, ever and never are words that I try to avoid. Of course, if someone
happen.
comes and tells me, Talal, here's $5 billion.
Of course.
That's my job to... What's my job? My job is to maximize shareholder value. So my investors, Beko Capital, led by Danny Farha, they've been super supportive of CoinMENA. They're our biggest investor. And my job is to make them money.
Okay.
So if I'm making them money today, great. They invested when the company was worth 30 or 40 million dollars. If I get an offer at 300 or whatever, yeah, sure.
Okay.
My job is to make them money. One of the best ways to make them money is to either IPO.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like inshallah, I can sell to this American company or whatever.
Like, yeah, to have your mind set on like one kind of path.
Yes. But if you are growing and you are profitable, then you will have the option to decide. يعني, maybe in a year's time, if we continue on this growth trajectory, we raise money and we buy other companies.
Yeah.
And consolidate. So that like...
That's an option.
Everything is on the table. But you ask me, would you ever? Yes, if there is the right offer. Any founder that tells you otherwise, I think are lying to themselves.
Yeah, I think they maybe, or it's very new for them so that they feel very kind of attached to it in a
هلا حلو.
way.
It's good to be attached to your business and committed, but I guess emotional attachment to business is not a good thing.
It's not a good
You need to be clear on what you're doing. And it depends who you're selling to. Is it someone you want to go work for?
Exactly. Do you want to be under them? Do you want to have like your name attached to them?
بالضبط.
Is that something
Like,
your legacy is like connected to them?
And you'd be shocked at some of the offers we get in
Are there some outrageous ones?
Yeah, we get some crazy...
In terms of how much money or in terms of the name? Who?
How much?
Give us a name.
How?
Gossip a little bit.
Yeah. Other crypto exchanges that went bankrupt.
Okay.
It's an interesting space for sure.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, that sector in the Middle East, forget crypto. If you think of exits in the Middle East, we still have a bit of room to go.
Yeah.
Yani, there haven't been too many exits, in my opinion. I think the market needs to show a few exits for investors to gain a bit of confidence.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Because you have to show them that it works.
Yeah, بالضبط. Like you don't only create an idea and it goes up in value. You need to show that someone else is willing to pay that or see more companies go public.
Yeah. For sure. Awesome. Thanks so much, Talal.
La, thank you. I hope it was relevant and not just tangents.
No. You clarified a lot of things because when I first started thinking about crypto, I had no clue where to start, to be honest, because I didn't know much about it. And I thought it was such a cryptic thing. It's like, how much am I supposed to put money? Like a lot of females also are a little bit not so risky in terms of their money, So I hope this clarifies things to people. And thank you so much for doing that.
No worries. But yeah, I would end it by saying, just get off zero.
Get off zero, guys.
Buy with a small amount, see how it works, and then...
That's the title of this video.
Yeah. Or when, like, going back to the earlier point that you mentioned, Bitcoin is down 7% or whatever.
Yeah.
When in doubt, just zoom out. If you zoom out, like if you're looking at the chart at a daily or weekly level, you will see it. Just zoom out and you will see that the path is very clear where Bitcoin is going.
That month, I think last month, everybody's like Instagram stories, whoever was investing. I know like some of my friends and stuff, and they were like, Bitcoin this month, oh my God, like stress.
People aren't used to long-term changes. For people to imagine that, especially bankers and people that work in traditional finance, they don't see anything except the dollar because that's what they started their careers with. That's what they're working with now. It's hard for them to see 50 years down the line where the dollar doesn't have as much control as it does now.
Yeah.
So I believe that the next currency to be popular won't be a traditional currency that's issued by a government. It'll be something like Bitcoin.
Great words to end by. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, comment, everything. Thank you. Thanks to that.
Thank you.